Hey guys, I hope you all are doing okay despite the current circumstances. Obviously, I want everyone to stay safe, happy, and healthy, and stay strong because school is almost over. But despite all this, we have to take the finals, so here I am. Obviously, I am Victoria, and I am talking about stirring the pot and inciting young people to civic activism. The United States has a global reputation for being prosperous. It was founded on principles of liberty and freedom, and the American citizen is privileged to be born in such a country. Despite this, history has been the ultimate indicator that the United States was not and is not perfect. We have lived through the era of slavery, as discussed in the Virginia slave narratives. During this era, the freedoms granted in the documents of our nation did not apply to Africans, and they were abused for years under the prehistoric belief that the color of one's skin determined their worth. According to the narratives, slaves were forced to break their backs to accomplish the whites' agenda, while the female slaves lived in fear of rape and extortion and had no rights over their families and where their kids would end up or if they were sold. It is a large stain in the tapestry of American history, a stain that can never be washed out, and honestly should never be washed out, as it is crucial to know the past in order to avoid the same mistakes being made in the future. Luckily, slavery is no longer around, and African Americans are now more valued members of society. However, despite this, we have a long way to go as a country in matters of race relations. But unfortunately, despite vast improvement, our country is still plagued with many systematic and social injustices and problems like immigration and the mistreatment of Native Americans. As young people, we have a civic duty to try and put an end to this. We are privileged to be living in the age of information, yet so many young people remain unaware of how they can help and have their voices be heard. The first step towards inciting civil activism within young people is to dispel the rumor that their voices aren't heard and don't matter. According to the Pew Research Center, young people aged 18 to 35 make up 31% of the electorate, while those aged 36 to 51 make up only 25%. This is tangible evidence that the common notion amongst young people that I won't vote because it doesn't matter is completely false. However, despite making up such a large part of the electorate, a little more than a quarter of eligible voters within this age range consistently vote. Political efficacy amongst young people is at an all-time high. So, combat this and get out to the polls and stop perpetuating this faulty belief. You can register to vote online from the comfort of your room, and showing up to the polling place only takes a few hours every few years. Our choices matter, as decisions made in office now will continue to affect us in our later adult years. So get out and do something and make yourself an active citizen. But of course, there are other ways for young people to have their voices heard, including those who are too young to vote. Local representatives are obligated to listen to their constituents' requests. There are a number of ways to reach out to representatives, including via email or physical mail. Congressmen also have offices within their districts that are supposed to be available to the public. You can find out who your congressman is by looking up your home address on www.house.gov. Congressmen are more likely to respect your correspondence if it seems to be widely backed, so using tools like petitions are also an effective way to gain attention to your cause. So make yourself a pest and be heard. Nevertheless, civic activism doesn't always have to be political. There are tons of ways to be an active citizen without involving yourself in governmental affairs, especially now. Which leads me to my next point. You are now aware that your voice matters, but what should you use it for? Depending on your culture and interests, there are a number of ways to be an active citizen. For example, COVID-19 is something that is affecting the entire community. As young people, we can help to soften the effects that this pandemic will have on our country by being responsible with our actions. First, stay inside and only come out when it is absolutely necessary. Young people who have the virus are oftentimes asymptomatic yet still contagious, so staying inside can protect the more at-risk people of society from getting affected. There are also organizations like the Electric Needle that are accepting sewn masks due to the shortage of medical grade masks. If you are ever bored while social distancing, you can make yourself useful and be active within the community by sewing some masks with old t-shirts and thread. It can be a game changer in someone's life. However, you don't always need to be personally affected by a circumstance in order to want to help. It is good to use the concept of narrative imagination, the ability to be an intelligent reader of another person's story, according to Martha Nussbaum, because even if you're not personally affected by something, you should care about others' feelings and circumstances. For example, there is a major issue within immigration of the country. The immigrant stories we read for class give us more insight into just how bad life can be for an immigrant in the United States. Every day, people are split up and deported or not even allowed to enter and forced to return to terrible situations like war-torn countries with no proper means of survival. For Alberto in Tampa, Florida, his brother is facing deportation despite having a green card for petty crimes, and Alberto and his mom are United States citizens. His brother is innately American and has no recollection of his home country, Peru, and yet his whole life is sure to be destroyed based on a mistake that anyone could have made. If this is something that you're passionate about, and if you want to see immigration laws and rules change, or if you simply just want to be supportive to people who are affected by deportation, you can be. Write to your local representative and give them a viable solution, or testimonials, or volunteer with organizations like the Young Center for Immigrant Children's Rights and become an advocate or a mentor for a child who lost their families to deportation. You only need to be 21, and you only need to be a friend to somebody who's deeply affected by this problem. Maybe none of this catches your eye. That's perfectly fine. Everyone has different interests and things that they feel passionate about. But be willing to put in the research and seek to know what needs to be changed. Our class was largely unaware of the injustices that Native Americans are still facing within the present day. We all thought, or at least most of us thought, that it was a thing of the past. But after watching a TED Talk in class, we are more aware and enlightened of just how bad life can be on a Native American reservation within current times. And now many of my classmates are passionate about the cause and are seeking to know how they can help. It's as easy as researching and finding something that makes you tick. Whether you are into environmental activism, LGBTQIA+ rights, minority equality, homelessness and food bank empowerment, or literacy issues, or female empowerment, there is something that you are passionate about or empathetic of that needs change and needs volunteers to help. Now that you are aware of your voice and you might have a cause that you're passionate about, the next and arguably most important step is to take action. This can mean a number of things, from being vocal and using social media as a platform, or volunteering at food banks and soup kitchens who are always needing extra volunteers. You can even sign up to mentor or tutor troubled youth at community centers who maybe not have the means of purchasing a professional tutor. Luckily, many establishments like universities and offices have tons of opportunities to volunteer. You just need to look for them. And if not, be the change you want to see in the world and make a club, or reach out to local organizations and see just how you and your community classmates can help. It has never been more easy to be an active citizen, nor have young people ever had this much power within society. Don't take that for granted. Get up and be an active citizen and do something. Thank you.